Hello folks, this is Mike, PC31 The Vinyl Policeman, and this is the 30th of June, so we are halfway through 2023 already. So I thought what I'd do is I've actually bought quite a few new releases this year so far. I think in total, I've got about 18, which is quite a number. So I thought I'd share with you my top 10 new releases so far this year. Do a 10 down to 1, do a needle drop on the top 5 records, just to give you a little hearing of, just to give you a little feel of what they sound like. So before I go that far, actually, there's been quite a few releases this year. I mean, I haven't picked up big artists have released, but the ones I'm particularly looking forward to, which are coming out in the second half of the year, July the 7th, I'm really looking forward to PJ Harvey, I Inside the Old Year Dying, really looking forward to that one. Johnny Lydon, Pill, End of World, August the 11th, really looking forward to that one. Gregory Alan Isakov, August the 18th. April the 25th, Alice Cooper has got a new album out called Road. September the 1st, Slowdive, the shoegaze band, Everything is Alive, looking forward to that. And September the 1st, we've got Chrissie Hynde and the Boys, Pretenders, are releasing a new album called Relentless. And one for Vinyl Martini, Jack, for his son. Frankie and the Witch Fingers, Data Doom, new album coming out on September the 1st. So look out for that one, Jack. Right, number 10 is Robert Forster, he of the Go-Betweens. Released an album in the first half of this year. And The Candle and the Flame, I've got it on a lovely clear vinyl, which is fantastic. Yeah, Robert Forster was obviously one of the co-founders of the Go-Betweens with Grant McLennan, and Go-Betweens started about 1977. This is his 8th solo album, and it's a very, very personal. It's an acoustic album. It's got some electric guitars on, but it's basically an acoustic album. Lots of acoustic guitar, piano, cellos, violins, etc. It's a really honest record, really easy to listen to. The vocals of Robert remind me of Hugh Cornwell, actually. Solo Hugh Cornwell, where it's almost semi-spoken kind of thing, but it's a great style. Standout track for me on this is Roads. I think it's a superb track. There's family members on this track as well, so I think this is probably another one of those classic lockdown albums where Robert just wanted to do his own thing, and it's produced a really nice album. So that's my number 10, Robert Forster. My number 9 year so far is the Brian Jonestown Massacre, Anton Newton, his project. This is their 20th album. I mean, 20 albums already, fantastic. I mean, they were formed in San Francisco in 1990, and this is just absolute classic psych. I mean, it's just dripping in 60s psych, effectively. I mean, Anton Newton's style in this one, where the vocals are a little bit knocked back, they remind me of Ian Curtis, where the fragility of Ian Curtis and where it feels as if the vocals are just about to break up, which I really like, leaves you on the edge a little bit. But this is absolute classic 60s psych. You know, what it says on the tin. Standard, the lead-off single on this one was Fudge, which is really good. And this is another one which was made during lockdown, and I believe Anton disappeared for 2.5 months in the studio. And it's one of those albums that I think he just recorded so much material and played with it for a long, long time. And he produced this, and it's a really strong album. Clear vinyl again as a theme. So that's my number 9, Brian's Jonestown Massacre, and it's called The Future Is Your Past. And I've still got the cranes with this one, but I haven't craned it in yet. I wonder if Steve Carson has. Okay, so my number 8 is Depeche Mode, Memento Mori, and this was the first album they've released since the sad passing of Andy Fletcher. I think the band were considering just disbanding at that stage, but they didn't. They held it together and produced this one. I think Andy Fletcher was involved in some of the initial demos, but I think most, if not all, of the songwriting and obviously the recording was done just by Martin and Dave. So this is their 15th studio album, about 15 minutes long. With this one, actually, there's two records. I've got the red vinyl versions. 3 sides of music, and the 4th side has got an etching on it. But my same old bugbear actually is that for me, I really would have put this onto one record, because there are tracks on here which I think are album fodder, which shouldn't have been on the album. So for me, this should have been probably a 10-track album, and it would have been stronger as a result. And you could have put it on one record. It would have been cheaper. And okay, but what do I know? Side 1, The Cosmos Is Mine. Absolutely fantastic. Wagging Tongue, classic track. Ghost Again was the single, which has obviously had quite a lot of airplay, and it's excellent. Don't Say You Love Me, it's just too George Michael-ish for me, which isn't a good thing in my respect. My Favourite Stranger is probably my favourite track on the album. So Is Me Again is a bit George Michael-y, but overall it's kind of a strong album. And for me to have an electronic album this high up the chart is probably a really good thing, because I obviously mostly go for guitar-based bands. But yeah, so Depeche Mode. The actual producer of this was James Ford, who has also produced the Arctics, Gorillaz, Blur, various others. But it's quite industrial in parts, very electronic, as you can imagine. But it's also a very, very melodic album. And as I say, some of the songs, especially on side 1 and My Favourite Stranger, I think are really, really good tracks. So that's my number 8. So my number 7, the common theme actually is it's produced by the same person, James Ford, but it's Wave. And this is Rose Eleanor Dougal and the excellent Graham Coxon from Blur. And all different, everything you buy now is coloured vinyl, it seems. So I've got the green vinyl there. Similar criticism with this one actually is this could have been one record, could have been cheaper, and I think would have been stronger as a result. I mean, it's a 53-minute record, and if you'd taken a couple of tracks off on one record, it would have been a much stronger album, I believe. But there's some absolutely brilliant moments on this album. Most of them are with Graham. I mean, I think Graham's vocals on here are just fantastic. I really enjoy those moments. And the sax playing, there's some great sax moments as well. But if one thing this has definitely done for me is this has made me want to seek out Graham Coxon's solo work, which I haven't done previously. But his moments in particular, I really enjoy on the album. All Along, fantastic track. There's a mandocello or a bouzouki on there, instrument like that, which is really great, played by Graham. Alone and Free. But yeah, it's a good album. As I say, some fantastic moments. Few weak tracks on it. Take the weak tracks off and it becomes a really, really strong album. But it's a good album. It's kind of a folky, arty type album. Lots of acoustic instruments, but there's also electric guitars on it as well. But yeah, very enjoyable. Wave, and that's their debut album. Okay, now number 6, and this is not a natural band I would follow for various reasons, but number 6 is the Foo Fighters, but here we are. When I first kind of picked this one up, I thought the cover, incredibly pretentious for me. It's all been done before. The vinyl, white vinyl as well. No name on the cover, only on the shrink where you got the Foo Fighters. But okay, I got over it. This is the 11th studio album from the Foos, and this was produced by Greg Kurstin. Greg Kurstin, who's done a lot of lightweight production, a lightweight artist in my view, but he's done Egypt Station, which I think is a fantastic McCartney album. He's done Cracker Island, which is a great album. So he's done some good things, and this is produced really well, in all fairness. 48 minutes. When you go through the actual track listing, so Rescued, I think, was the launch single, and Under You was the second one. Rescued, fantastic track. Under You, fantastic track. The next two, not keen. The Glass, Nothing at All. Side 2, Show Me How, Beyond Me, The Teacher, all good. The fourth and final track of the album is called Rest, and this whole album is obviously the first one after Taylor Hawkins sadly passed, and also Dave Grohl's mother. so there's an awful lot of pain in the album, and you can feel it actually. But Rest, the final track, is virtually unlistenable for me because it is just it's a fantastic track. It's so sad, and if you've ever lost anybody, it's a very, very painful track, and as I say, I find it very hard to get through it. But have a listen, it's a phenomenal track. I think it's the best thing they've ever done. Rest, the last track on side 2. So really mixed feelings about this one. As I say, I'm not a massive Foo Fighters fan. I find it all a bit noise for noise sake, too thrashy guitars, and I love punk, but I just think it's a bit meaningless sometimes. But there is some good songwriting on this album. I say Rescued, Under You, The Glass, Nothing at All. Yeah, all really good songs. Show Me How, Beyond Me, and I say Rest is sublime, the final track. So, and also one of the tracks there, Show Me How, yeah, the lead track on side 2, Violet Grohl, Dave Grohl's daughter's on it, and for some reason when I heard it, when I read it, I was expecting a young child's voice, and a really mature voice comes out, and it's a very, very good voice, so quite impressed with that. But number 6, But Here We Are from the Foo Fighters. So we now go to the big top 5, and as I say, with the top 5 I shall do a needle drop, one song at least. I should do 2 needle drops on the number 1 because it's fantastic, and I shall do 1 needle drop on the other 4, 5 through to 2. So here we go. So my number 5 album in my top 10 new album releases of 2023 so far at the half year. So number 5 is Glenn Matlock, Consequences Coming. And Glenn Matlock actually is playing bass on tour with Blondie at the moment, and he was on stage at Glastonbury over the weekend. I met him a couple of months ago when he did signings of the album, and he played a few tracks on acoustic, and he was great. He was really good fun actually, and a good guy to meet. This album is described as raucous and rocking, new album from Sex Pistols bassist, songwriter, and obviously Glenn Matlock co-wrote all the songs on Nevermind the Bollocks. And it is raucous and rocking. It's just classic rock and roll album, really well produced. It's good fun. There's some strong songs on there. Glenn sings well, but it's an album I keep on returning to. Great one for the car, sing along to. Really good rock and roll album. Very, very strong. Not really a weak track on the album. It's one I enjoy a lot. So Glenn Matlock, great release.
We know that sometimes some things are so better left unsaid, and we know that sometimes they can't just be taken as read. But what's been going down around here is making me see red. It's the kind of thing that goes whooshing, whoops upside your head. Everybody is speaking in tongues, speaking in tongues. Now I ain't ever been a kind of guy who's
Okay, folks, and my number 4 is a band I've heard Rob Walker mention before. I'm sure he's mentioned Bright Green Field, which was this band's debut album. They come from Brighton. I think they're based in Bristol now. But this is their second album, which has come out this year, and it's Squid, Oh Monolith. And this is such a grower. Every time, it's one of those albums that every time you play it, you get something more from it. You hear something different. I read on one of the YouTube videos of theirs, a fan had described them as proggy post-punk, and I think that's a brilliant description. That's exactly how I would describe them actually. If you think kind of latter day King Crimson but with a real post-punk edge to them, then for me this is not far away. Vocals took me a while to get used to, but I'm used to those now. The music is superb, absolutely excellent. The arrangements and the instrumentation, the actual playing is fantastic. I've got a needle drop on probably my favourite song at the moment, the Siphon song, but there's 8 tracks on the album, and it's a superb album. It was recorded at Peter Gabriel's Real World Studios in Bath, and I think the band at the time kind of really enjoyed the whole environment of being way out in the country in Wiltshire. That's the actual vinyl. I've got the blue version, but yeah, proggy post-punk, that's I think a really good description of them. But Oh Monolith, and as I say, this is growing all the time, and by the end of the year, when I do my final top 10 for the year, it'd be interesting to see where this is, because as I say, this is getting stronger and stronger for me at the moment. So number 4, Squid, Oh Monolith.
From the side, can't get the trick. I taste the song, and now the memory's gone. It's just the eye.
Okay folks, so my number 3 is, and I say bear in mind I've got about 18 albums, so the top 3 I think are really good. So number 3 is The Damned, Darkadelic, great album. So this is their first album for 5 years, and it's their 12th studio album. I saw them in April, and they were superb. They were such fun, but they really rocked it. I mean, Captain Sensible, who's played bass over the years for him and guitar, he was on lead guitar and he did a fantastic job. But the band were really good. This is classic psych, goth, rock. There's some great strong tracks on this. This is a strong album all the way through. I'll play you a needle drop. I could play you anything, but I'll play you The Invisible Man, the opening track, some of that. It's a great album. It really is. It's the Damned returning to kind of Strawberries, Phantasmagorica. Superb. Do you know what? I don't think I've got a black vinyl record on this top 10. This is also transparent vinyl. I didn't realise that, but no black vinyl in sight at the moment. But yeah, number 3, The Damned, Darkadelic, superb. Okay, number 2, The Murder Capital. Absolutely wonderful album. It's their second album called Gigi's Recovery, and the first album was called When I Have Fears, which when I heard this, it's so good I bought that one as well. Still prefer this one actually, but Dublin band. Very from the same stable as Fontaine's DC, who I really like. But this is it's a very gloomy atmosphere, which I love. Very dark, intense. 5-piece band, 2 guitars. Very, very post-punk. Sorry, Gary, physical format rock and roll. Very strong tracks on the album, but it's a very, say, dark kind of album. There's 3 short tracks on this, which are almost like poems in a way, which not quite so keen on, but the main tracks on the album are all fantastic. I'm going to give you a needle drop on what I believe was a lead-off single called Ethel. I think it was. I need to check that. But very, very good album. If you like Fontaine's DC, or also from Dublin, then you'll definitely love this one. But these ones are definitely worth a listen, folk, because, as I say, the atmosphere is fantastic. Really, really like them a lot. And the first one in my top 10 is Black Vinyl. Oh, it's making a comeback. So, The Murder Capital, Gigi's Recovery, is my number 2.
Strung out on love, alive in the city, pulling triggers like the fashion was a loaded gun. My head in the crosshairs, brain of the chosen one. 10 pages of her favorite book, alright. Leave on the light, and I'm feeling the evening with her blue-eyed soul on her shield, but I can't quite make it out. I can't quite make it out, 'cause I'm getting it tight, tight, tight. I'm getting it tight, tight, tight. I'm getting it tight from life.
Okay, folks, so my big number 1 in my top 10 for half year so far. And interestingly enough, this particular album came out in the first month of the year, and it was my number 1 then because it's the only one I'd bought, but it stayed there all the way through the first half of the year. Be interesting to see how it fares against Public Image and Pill and PJ Harvey, etc. when they come out shortly. But my album so far is Iggy's Every Loser. This is an absolutely fantastic album, which again has grown and grown on me. I enjoyed this from the first play, and every time I play it, it's fantastic. It really is such a good album. I think Iggy's about 75 when he made this. Not that that makes any difference, but it's tremendous. And I was a little bit worried, actually, because when I first picked it up and I saw Andrew Watt was the producer, I'm not a great lover of some of Andrew Watt's work, because I think he tends to, in my opinion, it's all personal opinion, but I think he tends to kind of take over the artist a bit too much. He brings in lots of stars from the industry, and I think the main recording artists just kind of lose themselves a little bit. But this one, in all fairness, is a fantastically produced album. And although there are still a whole list of big stars on the album, it's still Iggy Pop. It's Iggy's album. And although there's co-writes with lots of other people, it's superb. I'm going to give you 2 needle drops, but the first single, I believe, was Frenzy, which is the opening track, and which I'm going to play you a snippet of. And then the second single was Strung Out Johnny, which I'm going to play you a bit of as well. But tracks are New Atlantis, fantastic song. Modern Day Ripoff, Morning Show. The Regency is superb. The Regency's got Taylor Hawkins on. He also appears on another track as well. I think it was Comments. Taylor Hawkins is on that. But again, this is still Iggy's album, in my view, which some Andrew Watt albums, they tend to just lose the main artist. But this, and we're back to coloured vinyl, blood red, beautiful. But such strong, I can't recommend this album enough. I mean, if you're an Iggy fan, then it's a no-brainer. It's a massive return to form. But if you're not particularly an Iggy fan, but you like, say, rock music, I mean, there's kind of, I wouldn't say it goes through lots of different genres, but it's not just all heavy guitars and kind of Stooges type stuff. I mean, there's a lot more to it, and as I say, in all fairness, it's very, very well produced. So my number one so far is Iggy Pop, Every Loser.